So again, this is our TransStar, so 288 at 610. And I see two vehicles there, and it looks like one vehicle that just went over the overpass, which, you know, looks like it's clear. There's another one, but we just don't know where the flooding is besides this underpass. And it looks like there's a truck or a big SUV, and then kind of in the back, difficult to see because it's not completely zoomed in, but it does look like some sort of sedan that you can barely see the top of the car there, and you can maybe see the front windshield of that larger vehicle. And there we go, basically right on cue. The fire department is there. They are likely coming to hopefully rescue the person, maybe people that are in that vehicle. Again, we really don't have any updates for you other than what we can see at this very moment. You know, I haven't been watching it completely to know if somebody has been able to get out, or, you know, are they able to roll the windows down, whatever it is. But it does look like the fire department is on the scene, and hopefully we can watch a rescue and make sure that everybody is staying safe there. Now, I want to get back over to, oh, he's on the roof of the truck. Okay. Oh, yes, you can kind of see a little outline. So it does look like just one person there. So he is clearly waiting to be rescued. And you can see now there's a person up right on top of the road. So this is going to be on the left-hand side of your screen. You can kind of see somebody walking. Again, it's a little blurry for us to see at this moment, but hopefully that is a first responder that's maybe trying to talk to this person to say, hey, you know, we're working on getting you there. You know, with the fire truck there, that person probably feels a sense of relief because he doesn't know how fast the water is going to rise. And there's likely still some rain and you know, a lot going on at this time, but thankfully the fire department is on the scene.
Well, I gotta be honest, this was one of the scariest things I was unfortunately anticipating to see today. And you can see just how high that water has risen. Look at that overpass there. And then that looks like the top of the car, as Allison was saying, and a person on top of that car. We are hoping we see a rescue here, but this is what, unfortunately, I was sort of bracing myself to be witnessing as we continue our coverage today.
And what's sickening about it is just while we've been talking in just the last couple of minutes, you can tell the water's rising because we're seeing less and less of that vehicle. I mean, it's just happening so quickly. And earlier,
this really looks quickly right now.
We were seeing vehicles coming the other way earlier, and it looks like perhaps they've backed up and out of there because I don't see anybody else down here on this lower level, only crossing over. But what a dramatic scene, all unfolding along Highway 288 at 610. Look over to the far left-hand side of your screen. So awesome to be able to see that fire truck there and crews doing what they can to help.
My goodness, I hope that we see this person or people rescued, because this is certainly a scary situation. And I think it's just a good reminder, even though, you know, conditions might be lessening in your area, you could easily drive into water like this. As you can see, it blends sort of in with the roadway because things are dark and hazy outside, and visibility, especially if it's raining, is not easy, and you could find yourself driving right into a potentially deadly situation. And in this case, we do have rescuers here, thank goodness. It's going to be interesting to see just how they're going to make their way down to that person, as it's sort of like racing against the clock.
It sure is. And take a look at the TransStar camera. It is just blowing in the wind, so the conditions are less than ideal there. But it looks like the rescue crews now on that, if you take a look at the grass, if you look at the hill, it looks like they're trying to make their way down it. But imagine how muddy and slippery this slope is. So it's a dangerous situation from them as well. They have to do what they can to make sure that they stay healthy, that they don't get injured on their way down. But it looks like they're doing what they can, and now it looks like they're backing off. So it may be they may have to go where it's not quite so steep. It looked like it was really difficult for them to get down right there.
It looks like they're going to a different angle. I see at least one person carrying something, probably a device that would aid in this rescue. And the ladder is extended. Not sure what they're going to do with that, but man, it just looks like that water is getting just higher and higher as the seconds go by. So it really is like racing against the clock in the middle of rain, in the middle of high winds. The traffic camera, you can see it shaking. That's from the wind. And it's dangerous for all that are involved in this right now.
If you look at the top of your screen now, right under the word TransStar, there was another vehicle that was making its way toward all this. I'm really hoping they stop It's hard to tell if there's barricades out, but I could see the car coming toward, and now they're under, you can't see them because they're now covered under that bridge. So I really hope they were able to tell and nobody else drives into this. There are so many high water areas now that crews are having a hard time getting those barricades up to warn people not to go into it. So just know that there are a lot of problems like this around town where we do not want to see these high water rescues. Again, the crew's trying to figure out how to get to this person in the first place.
If I'm not mistaken, they're lowering that ladder down right now, and hopefully that person or people, it looks like just one person though, is able to latch on somehow and be lifted to safety. This looks like that is the plan of action right now. It is difficult to see, but if you look, you can see the white ladder on the truck stretching across your screen towards like the front of the overpass. It's right above where that person is on the car. Now there's another person walking down the slope towards the water.
And it's hard to tell what's on the end of that ladder. Maybe it's some type of safety device for them to grab onto. Perhaps it's some kind of cable or roping system. Very difficult to tell, but I believe that's the very end of the ladder where you see something dark hanging down from it. And now, again, that one crew member at the very edge of the water, I'm sure they're shouting out directions, probably trying to help those people or person. It's difficult to tell. Stay calm and just give them direction about what they're going to do. And it looks like actually the ladder goes past that dark spot, doesn't it? It looks like it's almost right over the vehicle now. It is almost there.
And it lowered a bit more. So I think we're right here. There must be some sort of rescue device on the tip of that ladder that they're trying to get this person to latch onto or just be able to be pulled to safety from. But man, I've never seen a rescue quite like this, using the ladder of a truck that's on dry land, stretching over into flooded water as the water seems to be just, I mean, it's rising. I mean, it is. That car is, it's like we're seeing less and less and less of the car. And
think about the strength of this ladder. It's just fascinating to see how they're able to just run it like that with the ground and just send it out over that water. And look at the water flow itself. The wind is blowing so hard that the water flow, I'm surprised the vehicle's not moving, because you can tell, you can actually almost see waves in that water.
And Melissa, you had mentioned before we had seen cars kind of coming towards this water. We don't see them anymore. We don't know if that means they're in the water or not. We're hoping that they just backed up, stayed put. Hopefully they could see that this is not something you want to be driving into. This is 288 at 610 North, a Houston TransStar camera. You're watching a live rescue right now. Fire department out there with a ladder truck. And we're just waiting anxiously to see if they pull this off.
And what's difficult about this situation, too, is you never know what is in that water. We have seen all kinds of things in floodwaters like this in the past. Huge piles of fire ants floating along, all kinds of different types of chemicals, snakes, even gators. And so I'm sure in a situation like this, they're trying to make sure that the crew stays safe, that nobody gets injured, but at the same time, make sure that this person is in a situation where they have a little time to put the perfect plan together to make sure that they are able to pull this off correctly and safely.
And Melissa, like you mentioned, the water being such a hazard, I believe also if power lines are down, you could be electrocuted. We've covered that before. We've seen that happen. So how would you even know if this water, you know, was dangerous and would, you know, electrocute you or something, or who knows what is in here? It's just so dangerous and so scary to watch. That person is still on the roof of their car at this point. It's crazy that they were even able to get out on the roof of their house, being how deep this car is.
Well, what a relief that they were able to get those windows down, because unfortunately that is something that we see time after time in flooding storms, is that if somebody has electric windows and they don't roll them down in the nick of time, the whole car shuts down. The pressure of the water, they're not able to open those doors, and if they don't have some type of device to break those windows, and they get trapped in that vehicle. So a huge relief, first of all, to see them on top of the vehicle, even though it is still a very alarming situation. I don't see the emergency worker on the slope anymore. They may be back up at that fire truck trying to figure out how to pull this off, and I'm sure it's hard to get the ladder that low, because think about the slope. You've got a huge slope, and this is going up and out over that, and I'm sure to get it down that low in that angle, it may be physically impossible to do that.
I think, you know, they are trying everything that they can at this point.
Is there somebody on the the ladder now. It looks like somebody might be crawling out over it.
There is somebody out crawling over the ladder right now, and then there's another person to the left side of your screen wearing black on the ground. So there's someone making their way out on the ladder. It looks like they're in a lighter color. You can see that little blurb kind of moving down the ladder. And then we just lost the person who was on the ground on the left side of your screen. They're making their way towards this person, and we're going to see if they can get them.
Yeah, so I guess what will happen at this point, I wish we could tell how many feet that are above, but it looks like, I mean, maybe 10, 20 feet. There's no way to tell how far that ladder is from that vehicle, but I'm assuming that at that point, they're going to have to throw down perhaps a rope ladder or something in order to be able to pull that person up. This is going to take a lot of physical strength, a lot of balance. There is a lot going on here. Now, multiple people on the ladder trying to get out to them.
At least 3 people are on this ladder. I just caught that in that view. You see a person in yellow, red, another one in yellow. 3 people up on that ladder making their way to that person who's stranded out there in these floodwaters. We've been following this now for several minutes, so we're going on 10 minutes of covering this particular rescue. Multiple people on the ground too, kind of orchestrating what's going on, and also being out there suspended like that on that ladder in these high winds that you can see has to be so challenging.
And they must be very concerned about what is in that water. And I'm thinking, Caroline, that it may be what you were talking about. Perhaps there are some wires down that they can see, because it seems like as close as this vehicle is to the shore, it would be very easy to throw him some type of flotation device, him or her, we can't tell at this point, throw a flotation device and just pull them in. They are doing everything they can not to touch this water. And so there must be some major concerns about that. So they're doing everything they can to pluck them up and over out of that water.
Well, you can, just like you mentioned, I mean, even just the rate at which this water is flowing, because if you look at the water, you can see waves in the water, meaning that water is moving. So I wonder just how fast it's flowing. It does appear like this is a man on top of this vehicle, and as far as we know at this point, it does look like just one person on top of the vehicle, and they are getting closer to the end of the ladder. They're making their way. It looks like they are almost there. The ladder stretches almost directly on top of this car, almost.
I'm so thankful for our first responders. They work so hard year in and year out. They have special trainings for situations like this, and you can imagine the adrenaline's flowing to do what they can to save a life right now. It looks like now that worker is at the very end of the ladder, right on top of this person. So any moment we may be seeing this person being hauled up. It's going to be really interesting to see how they pull this off, because at the very end of the ladder, I feel like